introduction. And, good afternoon, good morning to everybody here. Thank you so much for taking the time to participate, not only in this, event, but really participating and making time for yourself, because that's what's most important in times like this, when you're trying to figure out what you want to do, where you want to go. Investing in yourself, which we're going to talk a little bit about in a moment, is really the biggest and most important thing. So with that, I'm going to get us started. And super excited to talk about one of my favorite topics, which is finding your why. Okay, second here. Okay, great. So as mentioned, we're going to be talking for about the next 45 minutes about finding your why. So in terms of an agenda, I'm going to do a little bit of an introduction about myself, just to add on the pieces that Caroline has already mentioned. We're going to discuss what is your why, what is the why, discovering your why, translating your why into your new career opportunities, and then lastly, manifesting your why in your daily life. So a little bit more about me. I have over 10 years experience in the HR and talent management industry. I actually calculated at the other day, and I've done over 7,000 interviews and counting, which is pretty incredible. I've hired for government, full-time, part-time, and contract roles in all industries: tech, creative, administrative, management, and executive leadership. I have experience in the Canadian, US, and international talent space. And as Caroline has mentioned, in 2018, I started my own HR consultancy and strategy agency, Culture Shift HR. So I work with companies to help create purposeful work environments. And then I also help individuals through my one-to-one career coaching on how to make them successful within those environments to provide the best coaching and accountability tools. So what is the why? Everyone talks about, oh, my purpose, my meaning to life, the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning. Essentially, that's what your why is. So your why is the purpose for why you do the things that you do. It can also be known as your calling, your conviction, your mission statement, your vision for your life and your work, or your core source of motivation. It's that thing that just makes you excited about whatever topic it is that you're talking about. You could be, dead tired, a long day, and someone brings up the topic and you're wide awake and you're full of life and you're full of energy. That is your why. But your why is really comprised of various elements around, who you are as an individual. So your why is made up of your talents, your passion, your skills, and your values. And that's really the core that wraps up all together in terms of what is your purpose. That all those facets come together to really utilize and engage and bring meaning to your purpose. And you can have more than one purpose. You could have a purpose for your work. You could have a purpose for for your day-to-day life. You could have a purpose as a parent, as a friend, as a partner, as a spouse. You can have several different purposes in life. And probably as people who are really focused on ensuring that they have a purpose, having multiple ones is really important, because again, it gives you that reason to be who you are unapologetically, which is really, really important when you're trying to figure out and craft, and discover what is your why. So I thought I would give an example of what a why is, and I thought I would start with myself. So my why: I am in the industry of human resources as an HR leader because I fundamentally believe that people are the blood of your organization. If your people are not engaged, your business will suffer as a direct result. An organization's biggest asset is their employees. It is their responsibility to create a culture that is inclusive, open, and transparent for the ultimate success of their employees to create maximum results for the company. So this is my why. This is why I get up every day and I do HR the way that I do, because I fundamentally believe this statement. I fundamentally believe that the employees are the lifeline of an organization. And I fundamentally believe that when they're not cared for and that when they're not in an environment where they're set up for success, your business is ultimately going to suffer as a direct result of that. And then even if you replace the word business with people, your business is your people. Your people work every day. They make your product or service come alive. They are the ones interfacing with your clients and your customers. They're the ones solving your problems. And for me, that's really exciting because at the core of it is all about the people and various experiences and backgrounds coming together to work towards a common goal and endpoint, which to me is just so powerful. So when I think about my why statement, this is it in the flesh. So why is it important to have a why? Why should we have to find a purpose? Why do we have to find a motivation? Like, what is that going to do any good for me in the end? Is maybe some questions that are going through your head. So first and foremost, it allows you to live life with integrity and balance. When you have a purpose, when you have a why, you go through life with an intentionality that a lot of other people don't have. So it gives you this intentional action, this intentional mindset that really propels you forward and really helps to make the decisions that you make on a regular basis more seamless and more active because it's an action that you chose to partake in. And through that, you're really creating a better balance in your life when you're living with intentionality and when you're living with purpose. Because you're not now all of a sudden going through life, through the whims of what happens around you, but you start to control what happens to you and the way that you react to it and the way that you live within different moments that life brings our way. So it really helps to structure and provide that integrity and balance that we seek just as human beings on a more regular basis. Number two, it helps you to make better decisions in compromising situations. When you have a purpose, when you have a why, when you have your value statement, it makes it very easy to understand when to say no and when to say yes to something because your why is your North Star. It is the thing that you stick to. It is the thing that guides you, that gives you your direction. So when you're faced with a situation that compromises your why, quickly you're able to identify, well, you know what, this doesn't really align with my purpose. This doesn't really align with why I would, want to take this type of action. So through that, it allows you to have better clarity and better focus when making decisions. Number three, it helps you to identify where to put your time and your focus. When you have a purpose, you're going to do actions that enable that purpose, that give you that excitement, that give you that motivation. So when you have that, things that come in life that could be distractions or that could be things that kind of pull you away from your purpose aren't going to do so as much because you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. So it really provides you a great grounding and a great focus so that you're doing the things that align with what make you happy. Number four, it identifies who you should work with and avoid. So it's very interesting, and you've probably heard other people speak about this, is, oh, this person has a really great energy, I'm just so gravitated towards them. Or maybe you meet someone and you're like, their vibe is kind of it's kind of off. That's your intuition speaking. That is your intuition working in the flesh, aligning to your purpose. So I know for myself, when I'm networking with people or when I meet someone new, I know within the first minute if I'm gonna, really have a great relationship with this individual, because through the conversation that we have and the way that they talk about their purpose or their motivation, that lets me know, okay, this person is totally in sync with my why. They're in sync with my purpose, and we're gonna have a great relationship because we have similar traits. Whereas if I meet someone who doesn't really align with my why, is in a different space in their life than myself, then I probably wouldn't have a long-term relationship with them or friendship with them because we're just on two different pages. So my why really does help me connect to people and really find and source the people that are going to help me propel my why even further. And then lastly, it keeps you centered and living your truth. In a world that we are in today, where we're living in a pandemic and there's so many different information and so many different sources, it can be very, very overwhelming. And it's very easy to get lost in just a sea of voices. But your why and your purpose really does keep you centered and keeps you going. Since the pandemic, there's been a massive increase in depression and people just feeling an intense amount of loneliness because of the disconnection that we've had and not being able to see and interact with people on a in an in-person basis. But your why and your purpose really do help you live the person that you're meant to live. and be the person that you're meant to be, because it's guiding you and leading you in the direction you want to go. It's connecting you to the people that are going to fulfill you and bring you that additional motivation. And it really allows you to focus and bring your true self to life. And when you're living your true self, you're living your truth. You're living your ultimate being. And that's an incredible place to be, where you're living in a space and an environment where you can be yourself unapologetically. You can speak your truth. You're around people who accept you for your truth, and then you're able to be successful in all the work that you do. So having a why is more than just, oh, I know what I'm doing or I know who I am. It can be bred and manifested in so many ways in your life that will truly take your mindset and your day-to-day to a whole new level. So let's go through an example of, how to really live and walk through your why. So Sally is a business owner that has been working 5 years on her craft jewelry business. Sally has personally created and crafted each piece of jewelry that she has sold, and through this has created a steady flux of clients that allowed her to grow her business year over year. In her 5 years of business, her competitors have created a competing jewelry line that essentially flatlined her business through lower prices and more robust supply chain. As a business owner, do you close and throw in the towel, or do you forge ahead and continue to run your business? So the answer is that you continue adapting your business strategy, getting new suppliers who are more cost effective. You open in a new market, and in 2 years, you double your profit. So why would Sally take this route? And the reason she would is because of her why. So her why is that her business is not just a business. It allows Sally to send her daughter to school and get an education debt free. This allows her daughter to go to school and not have to really worry about employment until her third year, so she can just focus on her studies. Sally loves her daughter and wants to give her every opportunity possible to be successful. So in this situation, Sally is faced with a problem. She's been in business 5 years, her business is growing, it's thriving, and it's really allowing her to provide a second source of income so that her daughter can go to school and not worry about having to have a part-time job while focusing on her studies. Now tough times come, her competitors are really closing in on her. Their prices are lower, they have a better supply chain, they're getting new lines out faster, and Sally's like, oh my goodness, what do I do? Now she could just fold up her business and be like, you know what, this isn't for me, I can't manage this, I'll never beat my competitors, they're too big, they have too much money, too many resources, and I'm just one-stop shop. But it's her why that keeps her going, because her business is not just a business of revenue. Her business allows her to make her daughter's life better, allows her daughter to focus on school, allows her daughter to really just take the time and focus on her studies. And that income allows her to go to school debt free. So when she graduates, she's not worried about paying off, $100,000 student loan and stressed and not trying to figure out what she wants to do in life. But she has the mental capacity now and the freedom to really figure out what she wants to do. That is powerful. So you can see here in a decision like this, your why really helps to drive and influence the decisions that you make, even in the toughest situations. So as we've seen, your why keeps you going when nothing else will. When the cards are stacked against you, when nobody is on your side, when you are down and out, your why is that motivation, is your calling, is that purpose deep rooted inside you that says, no matter what comes my way, I'm going to continue to move forward. I'm going to continue to use every resource available to me and be successful in my purpose. So you're listening to this and you're like, wow, this is amazing. This is powerful. How can I find my why? How can I find my purpose? So these are the steps, and we're going to go through these in detail for the rest of the time that we're together. But as a high level, these are the ground rules of how to start discovering the why in your career. So your why starts and ends with you. You really need to make an investment in yourself to discover your why. Nobody else can do it for you. No one else can tell you your why. No one else can speak to your why. It really needs to come from you and really you alone. And the way that you do that is really through understanding the world around you, really discovering what is my motivation? What is the thing that wants to get me up in the morning. Why is it that I do what I do? And you could do that through reading, interviewing people, job shadowing, journaling. Through all those methods, that's how you'll create your why. Number two, it takes time. The day that you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. So your why can take time to discover, understand, and implement in your life, and really start to see it come to bloom in how you use it and really make it a power within your day-to-day capacity. Number three, your why changes. As you evolve and you grow and you live in your why, it's going to change and adapt just as you are changing and adapting. And that's okay, because as you are growing and you're realizing more about what you want and how you want it, your why and your purpose are going to follow in that same journey. So don't be scared if your why looks different from one year to another, because at the core of it, it is essentially the same, but the way that you manifest it may come across differently. And lastly, is that your why needs to be strong. It needs to be 7 layers deep. And we're going to go into that in a little bit. So your why starts and ends with you. And as mentioned, the main ingredient of discovering your why is yourself. So if you are constantly being occupied through work, media, friends, distractions, it is going to be very challenging to take the time and find out what your why is, and really finding that quietness to just be alone with your thoughts, to really think to yourself and ask yourself these pertinent questions. What are my passions, my talents, my skills, my value? Why are these things that I have identified in my life? Is it because I grew up in the family that I did? Is it because I've always had a strong affiliation with music? Is it because I've always loved crafts? Is it because I've always loved helping people? Really start to dig in and really peel away the layers to these questions. Because that's really going to be the foundations of your why and starting on the discovery of this incredible journey. And you want to immerse yourself in a world of discovery. Talk to others, listen to podcasts, read books, interview your friends, your family, meet people on LinkedIn and do a virtual coffee. But through talking to others and understanding their experiences, that's how you're going to understand your why. And the great thing about discovering your why is you kind of get to live a couple different lives at once. So as you're meeting people and you're asking them the question of why they do what they do and what their purpose is, you're going to start to see similarities, and then you're also going to start to see differences. So as you're speaking to people and as you're reading and researching, you'll see, okay, great, this 100% aligns with me. I agree with it wholeheartedly. This makes sense. And then you may read something and be like, I don't know if I totally agree, or maybe I look at this from a different perspective. And that's okay. In this process, you're really at a point of discovering, learning, saying yes, saying no. That's really the first phase of really understanding your why and crafting it to mean the most important thing to you. So this is an example. So for myself as an HR leader, my passions are coaching, supporting people, workplace culture. My talents, I'm a creative thinker, I'm a public speaker, I love building teams. My skills, I have good communication skills, I love project management, and I'm really good at organization. And then my values are respect, compassion, and innovation. So this is a great little model, which Caroline's going to be sharing later on asking those key questions to really derive these 4 things: your passions, your talents, your skills, and your values. And as you start to go through this process, it's important that you document it down. It's important that you start to see the similarities and you start to tie in those comparisons, because that's really going to be the bedrock of your why statement. This is a great concept that I stumbled upon through a connection of mine, and it's called Ikigai. And it's a Japanese concept meaning a reason for being. And essentially, it involves these 4 elements: your mission, your passion, your profession, and your vocation. And through this, it all compromises the reason of why you exist, the reason of why you move the way that you do, your purpose. And so I wanted to share another example of how not only in regular Western culture do we strive to know a purpose, but in other cultures they do as well, and they go about it in different ways. So I wanted to show you this model because this may speak a little bit more to you, and breaking it down to an another level and another layer that may resonate better with yourself. But I say all of that to say, do your research, find out how other cultures and other people also go around searching for their purpose, because as you can see, it's something that it resonates with everybody, and everybody comes to that question one point or another, is why is it that I do what I do? So be patient, but have a timeline. As I mentioned, the day that you plant the seed is not the day that you eat the fruit. And so discovering your why is going to take time. But at the same time, put a timeline to it. Say, for example, you're currently reading a book that helps you, uncover a new skill set within yourself. Put a timeline to say, in 4 weeks, I'm going to finish this book. Or in 4 weeks, I'm going to meet 5X people and I'm going to learn these 3 things. Put some timelines on yourself, because it helps to keep you focused on the end goal, and it keeps you motivated and driven to find your purpose and your why. And the reason that it's, to understand that your why takes time is because your why is the core of your motivation and the core of your purpose. So it's going to take that thought-provoking time that you really need to really get deep into yourself and listen to your inner voice. It's going to take the energy. It's going to take deep thoughts to really understand, okay, what is it that I'm looking for? How is this going to impact my career? Where do I want my career to go? And ultimately, what is the life that I'm looking to create around me? So it takes time. Be patient, but put some timelines in place so that you're continually making progress in this journey. As I mentioned, your why changes. So as you grow and adapt, so will your why. As you begin to live in your why and you start to live in the purpose, as I mentioned before, it's going to provide a deeper connection to the things that you do on a regular basis. It's going to provide a deeper connection to people, the activities, the places you want to go. And as you get deeper and deeper in your why, you're going to discover new things. It's all about a journey of discovery. And so as you get new influences in your life, and as you tried and tested your why, it's going to adapt. And that's okay. The most important thing is that you recognize when your why has gone to a deeper level of devotion and concentration, so that you can make the key decisions and influences that will help you grow deeper and deeper in your career. Your why is your North Star. It's your guiding light. And it's going to advise you on the actions and decisions that you make. And that's important because your actions on a day-to-day basis lead to bigger impact. That consistency that you have in your day-to-day is going to lead to a bigger outcome. So it's important that you're always in tune with your why. You're always asking yourself and looking at your why statement to say, is this something that truly aligns with me? Is this something that I'm still passionate about and wanting to go after? And if it isn't, that's okay. Take that time, recenter, and go after it again. Your why needs to be strong. So it's important that when you create a why statement, that it's 7 layers deep and that it could really deeply connects to the core of your being. So essentially what a 7-layer why statement is that you're taking your initial why and you're asking secondary why questions that will lead you to basically set a framework of 7 statements of your why. And I'm going to show you in a key example right now. So right here, we'll go back to myself as an example. So I am a strategic HR leader. Okay, well, why, Alysha? Well, because being strategic in HR is important for successful people operations in a business. Okay, but why is that important? Well, because people operations need to be strong to ensure the company has a good culture. Okay, well, why is it important for people operations to ensure that a company has a good culture? Well, because good culture allows employees to be supportive and successful. Well, why is it important for employees to be supportive and successful? Because if employees do not have a layer of psychological safety and support, they will not be able to bring their whole selves to work. Well, why is bringing their whole self to work important? Because being authentic allows employees to feel like they belong and have a purpose. Well, why do employees need to feel like they need to belong and have a purpose? Because having purpose is key to fulfillment and happiness in work and life. So as you see, my tagline of being a strategic HR leader It goes so much more than just being in HR. Through the work, I am literally helping people have a purpose and have connectivity in every area of their life. And for me, that's powerful. For me, that gives me my purpose. For me, that's what drives me up to do what I do every single day. And so when you're making your why statement, make sure that you're asking yourself 7-layer deep questions. And you're continuing to really challenge yourself on why it is what you do for the reasons that you do it. Because if anybody comes and asks you, well, okay, Alysha, well, why are you a strategic HR leader? Or why do you practice HR in this way? I can give them an answer that is strong, that is powerful, and that to my core is what I truly believe, and that's confident. And that's important because when people see somebody or interact with an individual that is confident and that is able to really know who they are, they're gravitating to them because they themselves are also trying to discover their why. And so through your journey and through your 7-layer why, you are actually going to be helping other people discover their whys and discover their passions, because through you, they're going to see that it's possible and that it gives you an ultimate fulfillment of how to be successful in life. So how are we going to translate this into your career roadmap? So you finally have your why statement. You finally did your research. You did your interviews. You did your readings. You did your 7-layer why statement. Okay, great, Alysha, but how is this going to help me in my career journey? So the way that this is going to help you is that you're going to find careers and projects that truly align and intersect your passions, your skills, your values, and your talents. Because at the core of all those things is your purpose. So if you can find the things that align all 4 of those areas together, you are really getting to the core of why you do what you do and why you love what you love every single day. So here is an example. So we're taking the previous slide I showed earlier about the passions, the talents, the skills, and the values, and we're gonna take that down a level. And we're now going to explore possible ideas. So possible career ideas for myself. I could be in human resources, I could be in business management, or I could be a career counselor, because all those areas facilitate one or more of the areas of my passions, talents, skills, and values. What's not possible career ideas is a construction worker, engineer, and a teacher. So I love project management, but I don't see myself as being a construction worker building buildings, or being outside on a regular basis, or an engineer. I love creative thinking and I love innovation, but I don't have a passion for computer coding and building code that builds platforms and software. That's just not what I find myself interested in. And then a teacher, I love coaching people. I love building teams. But for myself, working with students that are maybe young children, for me, that just doesn't fulfill me. I like to work with adults. I like to work with people who are at a certain age level so that I can have great interactive and engaging conversation. So as you create your passions, talents, skills, and values matrix, you're going to start to think about, okay, what are some of the careers that I could explore, or some projects or some work that I want to do that's really going to help me utilize all of these elements and utilize all these elements together so that I'm constantly working in my zone. So manifesting your why in your daily life. When you know your why and you are confident, it makes decision making and actions much easier and more seamless. When you are clear on your purpose, you know what to say yes and no to. You have a deep conviction and understanding of your actions, even when it's not clear to people outside looking in. They may be like, well, why is she doing that? Why is she so passionate about this? Why does she care so much about this? That's what people are going to say. And the reason they're going to say that is because they don't know your why like you know your why. You know why you're doing what you're doing. You know the intentionality you have behind your actions. So it's going to make other people confused because they don't have that type of insight that you have. It's going to allow you to move faster and more confident in your life because you know where you're going. You know the actions you need to take and you know the route that you need to get there. And people, as I mentioned, will continually seek your advice and knowledge because they themselves are also trying to figure out their why. They're also trying to figure out their next step. So when they see someone like yourself who's a bit more confident and has that intentionality, that is going to be someone that they're going to want to ask questions to, get information to from, so that they themselves can also be that confident and that assured in their day to day. Taking the time to understand your why can in all honesty be a very frustrating and confusing time in life. You're asking yourself a lot of questions. You're not sure maybe what's up versus what's down. Oh, do I have to pick this? Do I have to pick that? You can put as many limitations or constraints on yourself as you wish. And there's a lot of things that you're interested in, explore them. You don't have to stop at one, you don't have to stop at five. You can go as deep as you want to go with what your interests are and how you explore them and carry them to the next level. But just know it takes time, but at the end, the time is going to be 100% worth it when you have your why and you're manifesting it in your day to day. So, some key takeaways. Your why is your North Star. That is why it is so important to take the time to develop and understand your why. Take the time to cut out the noise and listen to yourself, who you are, and what you are interested in. That is the most important part. No one can discover your why except you. Talk to others as part of your process. Do as much research you need to do until you are confident that this is the direction you want to go in. Take your time. This process length varies from person to person, so don't rush your journey of discovery. Great. Well, that is all that we have today for Finding Your Why. I hope that this session has been really, really helpful for those who are trying to figure out their next step in their career, where they want to pivot to. We're going to take some time for questions, but just wanted to, post my social media handles and email. If you ever want to get in touch, ask me questions, please feel free to reach out to me on any one of these platforms. I would be more than happy to engage with you there.
Thank you so much, Alysha. That was wonderful. And it's so nice to see someone speak who has definitely found their own why themselves. You can really tell it comes through. So that's really inspiring. And I'm sure there are questions from the audience, although I know around this topic, sometimes it's hard to know the right question to ask. But if you do have questions, feel free to come on camera and ask, or just put them in the chat. I know that there was one a little bit earlier from Cecilia saying, I like your why, Alysha. My challenge is putting my why into words. And I think that's something that you've done really nicely throughout the presentation. Do you have any sort of tips and tricks for getting started on putting that into words in writing? But also, I think it's really important to be able to talk about your why with other people and with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say in the beginning, in the why statement, I don't worry about it being perfect. It's really in the beginning phases of your why statement is really just a collection of maybe your thoughts, feelings, things that you really enjoy, things that you're gravitated to. So I would say in the beginning, just do like a brain dump and write down everything that you feel comprises your why statement, and then take the time to refine it as you continue to do your research, as you continue to speak to others. Look at your why statement every day and say, okay, what is the core of this message? What is it that I'm really trying to say? What is it really that I'm really trying to come across? And then slowly but surely, your say 1-page statement is slowly going to get more refined, more simplistic, because it's like a diamond that you're trying to chisel. It's in a rock and you're chipping it away to get to that gem in the center. That's exactly what you're doing with your why statement. So you have a massive, say words or pictures or things that resemble your why statement, and then as you get more refined, so will that statement as well. So take that time to really focus, identify the core themes that you're really trying to articulate, and then also get other people's opinions. Find someone that you trust, a friend, a mentor, and let them know that you're on this journey of why, and let them read your statement and get their thoughts on it. And maybe through that interaction, that will also help you to articulate and really find more of the words that you're looking to really make a statement that speaks to you and speaks to your purpose.
I think that's really great actionable advice. And again, anyone, please feel free to interrupt me with questions on the chat. I think a lot of people in the audience are here because they're interested in making some sort of a career change. So either pivoting from one industry into another, or upskilling in sort of their current company or their current industry. Do you have any sort of general advice for doing that when sometimes maybe your why is changing or shifting a little bit? Or have you experienced that either in your own life or with some of the clients that you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great question because it is true. I think especially now with working from home and unfortunately the effects that COVID has had on the workplace, it's really gotten people to think about, okay, why is this what I do every day? Like for people who unfortunately have gotten furloughed or have been cut from their roles at their companies, they now have this time and they're thinking, okay, well, I did this job for 10 years because I needed to provide for my family and I needed to have a source of income. Now they're at a space where it's like, well, I don't need to go back to that. I can learn something else. Or I can explore other career opportunities. And I would say, really take time alone with yourself. Maybe if an hour is too long, start with even 20 minutes and think about, what is it that you've always wanted to do. Create a master wish list. If you always wanted to draw, or if you always wanted to cook, or if you always wanted to do crafts, like at this point in the beginning, don't think about what's going to make me money, what's going to make me pay the bills. This is really focusing on what you really want to do. Because I found in my career, when I put my focus on things that I love and I really focus my energies on what really gives me my satisfaction, opportunities come. For example, with myself, I really wanted to get into the speaking, atmosphere and really become a public speaker and speak on HR topics. I did a course and I really didn't know where I was going to go with it. But I became really passionate about speaking. And through that, as I spoke to other people about speaking and spoke with other colleagues, opportunities started to come up. So, and through that, I've now been able to build out my speaking platform and been able to now, utilize that skill set. So in the beginning, don't worry about, where is this going to take me at the end? If this is something that is truly passionate that you want to pursue, then put that down in your wish list. And then through that, create a plan of how you're going to get more skills in it, or how you're going to monetize that skill set, or how you're going to get a career in that. But don't automatically think, okay, how much money can I make? Is this even a job? Because you're already putting limitations on your why, which is not something you want to do. So I would say create a master wish list, go through it, comb through it, read it over and over again, find out why are these the things that you're drawn to? Why are you drawn to art or cooking? Is it because somebody in your family is a chef, or because maybe a family member was an artist and you just were always drawn to art? Ask yourself those key questions, because that's going to tell you if this is something that's just a fly by night thing or something that is deeply rooted and a strong interest for you in the long run. And then I would say, once you've done that self-reflection and that research, then start to look at careers. Okay, so if I'm really interested in cooking, what are the options for me? What if I want to open my own restaurant? What if I want to start my own catering business? Like, that's when all the career and the when you start to think about like monetary elements of your why come to light. But you really have to take that time in the beginning to figure out what is it that I want to do without any constrictions.
Mhm. I think, yeah, you said two things there that really stood out to me. Number one is like taking time alone and taking time to reflect. I think oftentimes that's something that's not very valued in our society. It's all like hustle, hustle, hustle. But sometimes the most productive thing you can do is just pause and think, and talk to people that you care about and get feedback. And then the other piece too is thinking about why you really love something. We have lots of times where we have sort of people who were in like a math education, and they come into the Lighthouse Labs program because they were reflecting on, okay, did I really love about math? And even though they couldn't find a job specifically with that degree, they really loved the problem solving part of it and the critical thinking part of it. So they came into the Lighthouse Labs program to become a developer and to be able to apply those skills. So similar to your example of cooking, like maybe it's something about cooking that you really like, but you don't necessarily want to be a chef, or maybe you do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to your point, Caroline, it takes time. Like, it's that time alone, it's that time with your thoughts, it's that time to journal, to really just reflect, think about experiences that you loved versus experiences that you hated, or workplaces that you love versus workplaces that you've hated, or just anything that helps you really focus on the things that bring you that excitement and that joy. I think that's where it really does start. And to your point, we are in a world where we're constantly distracted, we're constantly occupied with electronics and shows and movies and podcasts and music. Like, it's ongoing. You could literally be occupied every second of the day if you chose to. So it is very intentional, taking that time, shutting things off, putting your phone on mute, turning off the laptop, and just being with yourself. And it may take a couple of attempts before anything really flows, because it's kind of like silencing your brain, because you're going to get distracted. You're like, oh, I forgot I have to do the laundry, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And it's like, again, getting used to that new practice of kind of like mindful, thoughts, and maybe even a layer of meditation. It takes time. So don't be too hard on yourself if after a couple of attempts, that self-reflection isn't coming easily to you. Maybe try with some music, or maybe going a different route, maybe finding maybe stories, or writing down events, or journaling, or things that help get those juices going. So to explore different avenues, but just know that it takes time, and don't put too much pressure on yourself to have to get it done in one go.
Absolutely. Hopefully everyone's feeling a little bit of weight lifted off of their shoulders hearing that. I see someone turned their camera on. Was there a question in the audience?
Yeah, it's me, Clive. I like the idea of combining with other people to form the vision. That a lot of the times when we acquire our vision, it's through conversation with other people, and somehow they spark an idea which we think, yeah, I'd really like to go there. But also the other thing is having a vision, an overarching vision, but also having, I think the speaker mentioned it, about being able to put that into effect. So if the vision is too grandiose, it will just collapse, So it has to be couched, it has to be grounded in reality, really, to some extent, But the vision, I would say, keeps us going through the difficult times. So it's good to have both, the vision and the way to put it into effect, So yeah, thank you for that talk. It was great.
Great. I'm glad you liked it, Clive.
All the way from Cambridge. A question in the chat. What could be good deadlines or objectives one could set up to go towards finding the why?
Great question. So I would say good deadlines. I mean, your day the best. Like, so for example, if you know that your quiet time is in the morning, then maybe set up, half hour, 20 minutes to a half hour in journaling, or in writing down your wish list, or, doing your discoveries, listening to a podcast, your readings. Like, really figure out what is the optimal time in your day to have that self, reflection time. And I would say, in terms of timelines, know what time works best for you in terms of how fast you work, other obligations and responsibilities you have in your life, but don't put it too far out that that goal is going to be too strenuous to reach. So for example, if you're like, okay, in 2 weeks, I want to have my why statement. That's great. But say in those 2 weeks, you have a big project coming up at work, or, maybe there's something going on with the family. That 2-week deadline maybe isn't realistic, because you just have so much going on in your life. Maybe say a month. So if you get it done sooner, that's awesome on you. But then you also have that extra 2 weeks kind of, time frame to tweak it, to continue to do more research, to share it with a friend or a family member, and really kind of, refine it a bit more. So work within, I would say, the obligations of life, but don't put it out too much that it's not going to be a motivating factor for you anymore. And then for objectives, that you want to set to find your why, is, I would say, using that 4-part matrix. So looking at, okay, what are your skills, what are your passions, and what are your talents, and really kind of listing those elements out to understand, what are the things that I'm good at, what are the things that I enjoy putting my time to, and really identifying those as objectives will be a really great start in understanding your why, number one, and then number two, also using your why in your career roadmap, because your why and those elements that you enjoy doing so much would be really good options to have those skill sets used on a regular basis. So those, I would say, identifying those and then looking for roles in those that utilizes those skill sets as best as possible would be really, really good objectives.
Any other questions? Alysha, do you want to throw up that slide with your social media on it again? Because you do such a great job on there. So I definitely recommend everyone give you a follow. There's lots of really great resources on Alysha's LinkedIn and Instagram. So check those out for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime, send me a note. More than happy to help in any way that I can. I know this stuff can seem a little bit intimidating, can seem overwhelming. You know, and anything that I can do to help make this process as easy as it can be so that you can get to the end result is what I'm here for. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me at any time.
Awesome. And just so everyone knows, I'll put my email in the Zoom chat there as well. I didn't give much of an introduction to Lighthouse Labs at the beginning, but most of you probably know that Lighthouse Labs is a tech education company, and we help people make career changes. So whether you're interested in upskilling in your current career with a part-time program, or you're interested in making a full career change into web development or data science, we have a full career services team to support you in navigating that change. So send me an email if you're interested in exploring any of those programs. And we'll be sending out a follow-up email with the recording of this event to everyone who registered, and along with a worksheet that Alysha's put together that's really awesome to help you sort of sift through all of these thoughts. And again, then you can go back in the recording and make sure you caught everything. So if there's no other questions, I think we'll leave it at that, and hopefully we can all keep in touch, and we'll see you at a future event. But thank you everyone for coming, and a special thank you to Alysha. That was really wonderful to watch, and I'm excited to watch it back again as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Caroline and Lighthouse Labs. Best of luck to everybody, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.
Bye, everyone.